So we're going to talk about grass type as a competitive type. To me, grass is really supporty. It's one of the more support types out there. It's not going to blow you away with any moves, offensive capabilities, or defensive capabilities. I think it has a really good set for helping other types in your party or sweepers or something like that. Or defensively, well, in OU, it's mostly defensive. There are several reasons why. Their abilities are really defensive, and their move sets are defensive. Not necessarily their typing. Grass looks worse on paper, just like flying, than it actually is in practice, because a lot of the times it teams up with a type that really helps it out and bails it out. So we'll talk about it in terms of stats. Its stats are very unimpressive, fully evolved. Nothing too crazy here. Usually, grass is very slow, very notable to know. Grass is not a very slow type. It makes sense because a lot of them are plants or variations of some kind of plant creature. They're not very fast. Even though Venusaur is 80 speed, which is higher than the average speed. I'm going to complain about Venusaur pretty much this entire video when we get to him. But other than that, grass are not very fast, but offensively, they're usually special inclined, but funnily enough, I think a lot more recent types have pushed them over towards physical. I think this number has changed recently because grass has always been kind of more, you see it for the solar beams, energy balls, and the Giga Drains. It's what used to be there, but now it's more wood hammers, leaf blades. There's another grass physical move I can't think of. Not Razor Leaf, but there's other grass physical moves now. Seed Bomb is the other one. So it's definitely been pushed more in the physical direction, which is good. It balances out really well, but a lot of these stats don't matter. Like I said, grass is more support. It offers different move sets once we get there. But let's look over what types and stuff it's good against. Ignore Gen 1 because Gen 1's all over the place. Okay, so this is where it gets to me. This is where it looks really bad for grass, but it'll pick up, I promise. So it does half damage against all of these types, and 5 types are super effective against it. So on paper, grass looks horrible. It looks worse than like ice or rock. 2 types I've already bashed this entire time on my channel. However, like I said, grass has the advantage of unique defensive abilities, if it makes any sense. First of all, we'll talk about the types it resists on the defensive side. Ground is an amazing type to resist. Not many things resist ground besides flying, which already is pretty good. Like I've already said, it's probably a top 5 type. And then grass also resists it, which is pretty key. I don't think many other things resist it, which is good. I think bug's the other one, and then there probably is another one I can't think of at the top of my head. But being able to resist earthquakes is always a good thing. Always a good thing. Plus, water is a very common type and a very easy to access offensive move with hydro pumps, surfs, scalds. You see them all over the place. So water and ground are already very good types defensively to block, and grass is okay. And electric is an amazing type as well. So that's 3 types, I'd say, out of those 4 that are really good offensive types to be blocking. So that's already 3 things at an advantage in terms of, okay, like the 3 types it blocks are very good. It gets a little trickier, though, when you go defensive, though, in terms of bug. Generally speaking, a lot of types, or a lot of grass types, actually only take or normal damage from bug because they're either poison, steel, or flying. Not flying, but there are a lot of flyings actually. Or what's the other one? Fairy. Grass fairy is not too uncommon as well. So bug actually doesn't usually do super effective damage against your grass. Fire is a very common offensive type. I will give you that. Fire melt grass very well. It burns. Grass does not like being on fire, turns out. It likes the sun, but not too close to the fire. Unfortunately, it does get a little too close, and you might singe a little hairs off, and the grass gets a little upset. So, unfortunate, but fire is pretty easy to access. Flying's not that common, as strange as it sounds. Usually you see it in the form of Hurricane, Acrobatics, or Air Slash. Only flying Pokemon usually get flying moves. Besides that, nothing else really gets it because they don't want to use flying moves on a non-flying Pokemon. So you don't see them very often, actually. Now, granted, if you do see them, usually they're pretty devastating, but they're pretty rare, and you can kind of predict when they're going to happen anyway, so you should be able to dodge them. Fire is a little easier to mask, and so is ice. Like fire and ice, you can get out of anything, so you can get them on hidden powers and such. Poison's not a great type to not be resistant to, because it's picked up in more and more types are picking up poison moves. Because poison needs to be there for fairies, so not taking poison's not great. Now, I will say that of the OU pokes, I think 3 of them either resist or are neutral to poison. So that usually isn't a problem, but we'll get there again once we get there, once we talked about OU. So defensively, it looks, since it has 5 types, and ice I can't defend. Ice is horrific. You don't want to be taking ice attacks ever. That's not good. So it looks way worse. Ice freezes grass, you know how it goes, and then there's like permafrost, and that's not great. And, you know, I like my ice not chilled. I like to be rolling around with it and get grass stains all over my pants. Fun things. But defensively, grass is, it looks worse than it actually is. These 3, being able to resist electric, ground, and water, we'll get back to it, is amazing. It's very key, actually, for a lot of the Pokemon that are in OU. Of the Pokemon that are in OU, I think of the grass Pokemon are in OU. 4 of them, or 3 of them are defensive. And 2 of them are grass steel, I think. 2 of grass steel, and 1's grass poison, and the other one is, I should know it. There's just normal grass. So 2 of them are grass steel, and 3 of them are defensive, and they're all physical defensive too. 3 of them at least, and Venusaur is like everything. So grass steel is a very good typing, because then you protect yourself from ground, and you protect yourself from ground mainly, but you take a lot of damage from fire, obviously. But defensive Pokemon, 3 of them are defensive in OU. So obviously, grass doing something defensive is it's doing something right. Now I will say, grass also has the niche of being able to block powder moves from other grass Pokemon. You can't use Stun Spore, Sleep Powder, Poison Powder on a grass Pokemon. It is not very effective, you can't do it. It blocks the move, and you also can't use Elite Seed on it, which is also a very common move as well. So that's also a slight bonus for grass. Other grasses can't really do anything to it. So if your best bet, honestly, against another grass is to throw another grass in there, and you can block a lot of its moves. A lot of them, like almost every grass Pokemon usually has a Leech Seed, usually, except for our Cortana, which is just completely offensive. I can't wait till we get to talk about it. It's great. Offensively, grass is pretty horrific. Like I said, it's not usually just straight out offense. It's more there for utility. However, it does hit 3 good ones again. Ground, rock, and water. All very good types to hit. Very good types to hit. And then this is where it gets interesting. So this is the main reason why using grass moves is not that great. Bug, Dragon, Fire, Flying, Grass, Poison, Steel. I think it's one of the worst offensive types in terms of like how many things resist it. I think Bug's like up there too. It might be the like single worst one. You're not using grass for its offensive capabilities, generally speaking. You're using it for Leech Seed. You're using it for powders. You're using it for specific counters to, say, Swampert gets destroyed by grass moves, and there's other ones. I'll get to them eventually. But you're not usually using grass for offensive capabilities. 3 of the Pokemon are OU that are defensive. So grass, offensively, not great. And this set proves it right here. Right here. All for like nice, juicy list of things that get fucked. Especially since Poison Steel are a very common defensive type Pokemon. And grass. So you're pretty much getting destroyed offensively if you're using grass. I don't know what you were doing in the first place. See, here's the powder moves. It says it right here. Grass Pokemon are immune to it. And it kind of backs me up on all my points right here. So that's great. Now, we'll get to specific moves, and then we'll talk about some Pokemon that are in OU. As I said, grass has really good defensive capabilities in terms of not only being able to support other Pokemon in terms of moves, such as Effect Spores and sleep powders and your leech seeds and stuff. It also has some of the best healing capabilities in the game, which is synthesis and Giga Drain. So like they have a bunch of moves that heal themselves and can sustain really, really well. Grass is very hard to take down if it has the right setup. Keynote, by the way, Grass, strangely enough, has a lot of Pokemon in its set are good with Sunny Day. That'll come up. A lot of them have Chlorophyll or Leaf Guard, and they have Solar Beam, which is double. Like the 2-turn part of Solar Beam automatically goes to 1 turn in Sunny Day. So they have an affiliation with Sunny Day. Oddly enough, Sunny Day also can can wreck them because you don't want to take a Fire Blast or a Flamethrower as a Grass Pokemon from like a Charizard or something like that. That's not great. And Sunny Day, you'll get 1 hit. But you can also kind of like play with it, unlike most other Pokemon in Rain. I guess electric Pokemon in Rain work really well together. But Sunny Day and Grass Pokemon, you'll see some common themes come up once I talk about my Pokemon on my team. They have Chlorophyll. They work well with Sunny Day. So that'll come up later. But it's something to note in Grass and something that helps them out and sometimes hurts them. It's a very mixed bag for Sunny Day for Grass. They get destroyed by it, and they also can run sets off of it. Let me see here. Okay, so some moves. Grass already has a pretty good move set. You'll see Bullet Seed on Skill Link Pokemon, so that's pretty good. Aromatherapy, again, a very supporting move. You cure all status moves from your Pokemon. Who wouldn't want that? Great. It's like a what's the Heal Bell? There we go. Is the other one common for it. So a lot of Grass Pokemon can heal using that. Now, granted, that's usually on non-Grass Pokemon, like Chansey, or I think like Clefable can learn it, maybe. I don't know. Energy Ball is your staple special attack. Let me look here. I think Cotton Spore I see every once in a while. Harshly lower speed. Is that the one I see? I think it's Cotton Guard. Maybe it's Cotton Guard. I don't know. Giga Drain, like I said, is a very sustaining move. It's special. It's if you want to sustain rather than actually do damage. So tanky Pokemon like to get that. Grass Knot is a very dependent move. It's usually good against rock and ground Pokemon because they're heavy. I don't see Grass Whistle ever because it's bad. Horn Leech is a physical move that heals you. It's basically the physical version of Giga Drain. Leaf Blade is the physical version of Energy Ball. Leaf Storm is basically your Solar Beam, but you want to just hurt people. It's basically close combat. Leech Seed is a very unique move. It's probably one of the best grass moves in the game. You can heal off of every other turn. You heal, and only grass Pokemon are immune to it. So, unlike some Pokemon who are immune to like status moves or something like that, like Toxic or like Paralyzation or Burns, Leech Seed pretty much latches on to anything, and you can just take damage and then heal and use Substitute or Protect, and kind of being a nuisance. And it also stays on the Pokemon, so you can switch out and still have Leech Seed on. Very critical for a lot of sets and very good for defensive Pokemon, which Grass usually are. Let me see. Petal Dance is it's basically like an Outrage, but for Grass. Power Whip is only usually on one Pokemon. I think there's only one Pokemon that gets Power Whip, but yeah. Seed Bomb's your bread and butter, like Ice Punch. It's just a normal move that hits hard and hits accurately. Sleep Powder, again, Spore, Sleep Powder are very they're status-based moves. They put them to sleep. Spore is probably the best status move in the game if you have it, because it automatically puts things to sleep. Now, granted, I think like Toxic's better, but Spore 100% sleep. So 100% chance to disable a Pokemon's amazing. That's why you see it on anything that usually can get Spore tries to use it as a setup, and that includes Smurgles have Spore because they can paint it on and then they can set up right after that. So Spore is really good, and then Sleep Powder is the same way but just a little less accurate. Same with Stun Spore. Synthesis is your heal move. It's basically the equivalent of Soft Boiled for grass Pokemon. And then Wood Hammer is, again, your close combat. It does something to you negative, but you want to use it because, like, Flare Blitz or something like that. It's very similar to that. Wood Hammer also sounds really cool. You just smash something with a fucking hammer made of goddamn trees. Like, how badass does that fucking seem? Pretty sick nasty right there. Has a cool animation too. Anyway, that should be mostly it in terms of like its stats and abilities and all that jazz. Let's go to Pokemon that are in OU. We've already touched on it, and then we'll go to my team. Okay, so Pokemon that are in OU. We have to do the team builder. Forgot. All right, OU grass Pokemon should be a fun time, right? OU grass. All right, here we go. Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is basically the new. Oh God, I can't even remember his name. Hold on. Give me a sec. I know. Fortress. There we go. So Ferrothorn was like the hot commodity in Gen 5 when it came out. The reason why Ferrothorn's really popular and has been the premier wall ever since it has come out. Very good typing. Steel Grass neutralizes ground, rock, bug, all of that jazz. Steel is just a really good type. Steel is probably one of the best types in the game. I'd argue it's a top 5, no doubt. But Steel is a really good defensive type. Now, Ferrothorn, look at its stats. 116 special defense and then 131 speed or defense. It has the stats where you need it. And it also can do respectable damage with Gyro Ball and Power Whip or something like that. And on top of that, it has Iron Barbs, which you can team up with the Rocky Helmet and do a lot of damage, residue damage for anything attacking you. Very, very good Pokemon. It's very easy. It has Stealth Rock, Spikes, all of that kind of jazz that you want. Knockoff, Leech Seed, lots of protection moves, lots of moves to do what you need to do. Stealth Rock, it can set things up for you. It can use Thunder Wave, Toxic. It can use all kinds of supporting moves. So it's very, very good at what it does. Very reliable, very predictable, very reliable. You usually have to have a fire move on your team specifically for this and other Pokemon like Scizor and Celesteela, but very annoying if you don't have the right Pokemon to deal with it because you'll take a lot of damage. So it's very defensive, usually physical defensive. So pretty straightforward. Ferrothorn's not hard to see why it's OU. Very good stats and stuff. Cortana. Oh, baby. Okay, what were they thinking with Cortana? Probably not the best battle beast, but definitely up there in terms of if you don't have the right answer for it right away, you'll die instantly. 181 attack is like holy cow. And that's saying something because Landorus and Kyurem, like right here, they have 145 and 170. This thing even has more than them. Granted, Grass is not the best offensive type. We already noticed that. But Steel Grass is still a really good type. You block poison. You're immune to poison. So that's really good. Its speed is 109. So already really fucking fast, too. You're not catching this thing. And I usually see this thing has Band or a Scarf or something like that. It's really hard to deal with. Especially 131 defense is not bad either. Who cares about like your special defense and special attack? I don't. So it's just... This thing can run trains on you. If it kills one of your Pokemon with, like, say it's a Leaf Blade or Iron Head or Swords Dance or something like that, and it gets a Beast Boost, you're in trouble. No matter what you resist with Grass, it can still one-shot you. With Leaf Blade especially, since it can crit you and stuff. It is not going to be... What's its other move it usually has? Physical move. Like Night Slash, Psycho Cut. Okay. But yeah, it does shitloads of damage. This thing is a huge threat. So that's why it's on there. Also notice that 2 of our Pokemon are Grass Steel. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Okay. So it's immune to poison, because poison wrecks fucking Grass. Like, if you're not immune to poison or resistant to poison, you'll get, like, weared down by Toxic and stuff. These guys, Toxic ruins, like, Leech Seed stalls and stuff. Okay, so Cortana's talked about. Let's talk about Mr. Tangrowth. Okay, Tangrowth is shocking. I think it's worse than Ferrothorn in every single way. Usually more stally. It has more HP and more attack and special attack. It has Giga Drain usually. But the big thing is about Tangrowth that it has over the edge over Ferrothorn is Ferrothorn usually has Rocky Helmet with Iron Barb, so it does a lot more damage back to you when you attack it. Tangrowth just stalls you with Giga Drain and Leech Seed, and then Regenerator, so it just restores all of its HP when it goes away. Granted, you can status move it, which is very handy, but it also has like Morning Sun and Pain Split and Knock Off, another move that it usually has. Sleep Powder. It'll fuck with you so much if you don't play it around it correctly. I still think Ferrothorn's more dangerous, but again, Tangrowth is a very good defensive wall. Very annoying to deal with as well. So that's why it's there. Let me look. And then there's one more, and we have to talk about him, even though I hate his guts. And that is Mr. Venusaur with Thick Fat. Okay. So, why is Mega Venusaur in OU? Well, it's got really good typing. This is immune to ground. Remember how I said that ground immunity will come in handy, especially for poison? It's immune to toxic. And then with Thick Fat, it deals half damage. Half damage. Or halved attacking stat. That's still really good. Maybe not half damage entirely, but... So fire and ice, normally good against grass. So you just limited your options to only flying and psychic. And that's it, I think. Yeah, so flying and psychic are the only things that can dent Venusaur. And fire. No, fire is already gone. I forgot. So you already limited yourself with Venusaur. Its stats are god tier. It's got like, what, 670 base stats or something ridiculous. So look at its... Venusaur's got 80 speed. Why does this guy, who looks like he's never run outside ever in his entire life, and in the cartoon just sits there and goes like that? He just doesn't move. He just absorbs the sun. He's got a huge plant on his back. 80 speed. Ridiculous. But I digress. Ludicolo's got 70 speed, and he's dancing all over the fucking place. This thing with Thick Fat is very hard to take down. Very hard. And it's got Giga Drain, it's got Leech Seed, it's got all the fun grass moves that make it impossible to kill. So you get you get much frustration when you verse this thing. It's got Earthquake, it's got a lot of good moves. Granted, it usually is not physical, but it's... Sludge Bomb is usually on it too. So it's usually Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, I think Synthesis, and then Leech Seed, I think is like its most common set. That's usually the set I see. It's just annoying to take down. It's just a big turd. It's just really annoying. So Venusaur is in there just because its base stats are good, its typing's really good, and its ability for its typing is also really good. Like, it's probably the best user of Thick Fat. I think like Miltank and Snorlax have it, and they're not as devastating as Mega Venusaur because they don't have the type to back it up. So there's your Pokemon right there. They all have 3 of them are defensive. Cortana's is all offense and tries to gut you like a fish. So grass, usually defensive and usually very frustrating to take down. And they have their unique niches on who they stop specifically. So they stop usually fighting in like ground and rock types and stuff like that, and water. So usually on that aspect they stop them. And electric, I guess. They're resistant to electric too. If there's electric physical sweepers, which is usually not common. Either way, there you go. There's your guys. There's your OU pokes. So I should note there is a Pokemon I want to talk about that might not be technically OU that I want to talk about anyway. I think he's in BL. So we'll talk about him. And that is I forgot about Tapu Bulu. He's the worst Tapu, by the way. Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing, Limerence? I can't say your name. My bad. Not yet. Not yet. So Tapu Bulu is the worst of the Tapus by far. Maybe not by far. I think Tapu Fini is really underwhelming, too. This one's good, and Coco is really good. But Grassy Surge is the worst of the... field spells. It heals both of them, and Tapu Bulu is basically just like a huge... Any Tapu is really good because it has an ability that like changes the field up, and it has unchecked. This thing has like Leech Horn and Woodhammer, and then I forget what the physical fairy move is, but this thing actually can make dents in your team if you let it go. That's, for the most part, Fairy and Grass is double like poison weakness and stuff like that. Choice Band, just yeah, it hits like a truck, basically what Shaman said in the chat. So it just hits like a truck. You don't expect it. Maybe you do expect it, but Tapu Bulu you don't see very often. And he also has he's probably got the second best design out of the Tapus. I think Coco looks pretty cool. Topo looks pretty legit, but Tapu's there because he's a Tapu. Fairies are really good, and hitting like a truck with Choice Band's always very nice. So he's not the guy I wanted to talk about though. The other one I wanted to talk about was not Breloom. Breloom will spore you and then or poison heal you and then hide behind a sub and then focus punch you or sweep you behind a sub, which is not great. Or Technician or something, or Swords Dance, something like that. 1 second. And then the other one I want to talk about is Superior, who has Contrary, and if he Leaf Storms you and Contraries you early enough, you can get fucked just by not having the prep down. So just keep that in mind. He's really fast too, and then one Leaf Storm into Contrary it might be enough to sweep your team. So I just wanted to make note of that. Those two are really strong, even though they're not in OU directly. You'll see Superior actually potentially a lot during my battles today, because you actually see him more often than Tapu Bulu and Breloom. So the other 3 or 4 you see, like Cortana I see the least out of all the other OUs. I see Venusaur almost every other. I see Venusaur every like 3 matches probably, and then Ferrothorn's almost every 3 matches as well. They're very common defensive Pokemon, so. That's Grass in a nutshell. Overall, I'd say it's like mediocre. It's really good defensively, but other than that, offensively, it's pretty meh, bleh, like that. It's very good supporty though. So, okay. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna do Shaman. I'm not gonna do the Discord call right now.